Pablo Rosario, the man, the myth, the legend. Welcome to the Pain and Performance Podcast, buddy.
Hey, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited. I've been a big fan. I've been watching since the beginning, and I'm excited to be part of it, to be able to contribute to the movement.
Okay, we are good. I was just making sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was going slow on the upload. Yeah,
Yeah.
man. We this is gonna be fun. I'm insanely pumped up for this. I want to make sure that people understand we're not completely throwing them a curveball. We're gonna be talking about all kind of stuff from goal setting to relationship health, social health, and I was looking at it and like our whole objective on the Pain and Performance podcast is to improve your quality of life in every area. And it would be ridiculous for us to try and do that and not talk about relationships and social health.
Yes, yes. 150% agree. I was talking to someone the other day and how, like once you get this part of your life handled, there's a ripple effect. It goes over to other parts of your life. I mean, and not only that, it's been proven that once you have someone that you can cuddle with at night, that you sleep better, blood pressure goes down, you live longer. And not only that, when you pick the right person too, like for your finances get better. So who you get a partner, like who is your partner plays a major factor on all aspects of your life, especially your health as well.
This goes into I pulled research for this and it's exactly right. Every single area of your health and your life, your longevity is improved if you have more satisfaction in your social and relationship life. So you're like, okay, that's massive. That means that this carries over into everything. And yet we don't teach or talk about it to kids, to young adults, to men, to women almost at all. It's like it's almost still taboo, right? It's like, oh, you're talking to like a, relationship coach or a life coach, like, oh, poor you.
Mhm.
It's insane that for something this important in our life that we treat it like that.
Yeah, and I think it comes from a little bit of shame. Like it feels like things that we should know how to do. Like one of the biggest misconceptions out there is that we should know how to talk to people. We should know how to get a partner, a boyfriend, girlfriend, what have you. And then when we don't, we start taking it onto ourselves. Like, oh, well, we suck. Something's wrong with us, and then that just takes us down a spiral. When social skills is one of the most important things, kids, like even from younger, kids need to learn. This is something that I wish I would have learned because it would have given me the self esteem to find value in who I am as a person, and that value would have translated over everywhere else. I mean, when you have that confidence to go talk to someone, to connect with someone, then that confidence makes you stand a little bit taller and go, you know what? I'm going to improve the other areas of my life because I want to be better for this person. And like especially in health, one funny thing, at least with me at least, it's a funny joke, but I love to work out. I love to stay in shape, and of course for health purposes. But the other part is I want to look good for my partner. I want to look good with my shirt off to impress her, to keep her interested. And so there's a definitely an effect. There's definitely a bond between that. And I think learning these skills are the basis. And I really wish it would have taught to us when we were younger. High school would have been a lot different.
You bring this up and I'm gonna pontificate on this for a minute. So we see that everything improves when we improve our social life, our relationship life. And I wonder if it's kind of this feedback loop where for us to truly improve that, we have to improve ourselves. And then as we improve ourselves, it feeds back into we improve our relationships, we improve our social connection, our ability to get through the bullshit, if you will, and actually get deep and get to know people. And that makes us feel better about who we are. And so we improve ourselves and so we get better. You know what I mean? Like it's almost a chicken or egg thing, but like no matter which way you do it, it starts probably with you. Like look in the mirror. We start to really improve ourselves. Don't learn tricks or any of that stuff. Improve our ability to feel. We're going to talk about confidence on this and what that means and authenticity and what that means. And then that feeds into these relationships. But the path to get there makes us so much better. I don't know if that's making sense, but what's your
Yeah, it
thoughts on
does.
that?
Yeah, no. Listen, it absolutely makes sense, and the thing that I teach a lot of my clients is that the backbone behind everything, behind getting a partner and succeeding at life, and even in the realm of health, it's everybody thinks I need that thing first in order for me to be the best version of myself, in order for me to be happy. Once I have the partner, then I'll be happy. Once I have the body, then I'll be happy. No, no, no. They have it in reverse. I always believe that you are the origin of everything. You are the start, the initiator of everything. And then once you start doing it, more importantly, you start doing it for yourself. Now, here's a caveat. Now, let's get into it,
Yeah.
right? The mistake here that a lot of people make is that they start using that external thing, like I want a better body, I want the partner in the relationship, as the initial motivator, which is great. It gets you up off the couch, it gets you going, it gets you dressing well, looking good. Now, but what it actually the mistake that actually ends up happening is that if you continue down that road, then we are doing something for somebody else. We are doing something for an external result. And the problem is that once that external result goes away, then how you feel about yourself goes away. And I think you and I both agree when I say this is that, like, yes, everybody wants to look sexy with their shirt off. Everybody wants to have a partner. Fantastic, because it makes us feel good when we look in the mirror and we're like, wow, like, damn, I look good today. Right? Everyone, it feels good when we see that. But my mind is, if God forbid something happens and you're not able to work out, you're not able to have that partner, do you still feel good about yourself? And if you stop feeling good about yourself, you stop doing the things you were doing, and then now you go backwards. And so now you're right back where you started. You're feeling like crap. You're like, my life sucks. I'm not healthy. I'm not this. And so I believe the antidote to that is to do it. One, do it for yourself, and do it for the principle. Do it that it doesn't matter whether or not you actually get a result, that you're doing this because a purpose is for your development to become the best version of you. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you.
Yeah. And
If
I
we
apologize.
look at,
And I'm sorry,
go
real quick.
ahead.
I apologize. Like, if you hear a little knocking on the background, they're doing some of this last minute construction upstairs. I thought they were done. I apologize.
Hopefully we can clean that up. I think we'll be able to. So if we stay on that, let's take this for like in the social context. So somebody who's listening to this is like, you know what? I'm not as satisfied with like my relationships and with my social connections, my dating life, my married life. I want to start to improve that. And if I improve that, then I will be more happy and positive and present
Mm-hmm.
in those relationships.
Mm-hmm.
So what you're saying is like, no, no, no. Let's tap into that. How do you start to create a situation and environment around you where you are happy and satisfied today,
Mm-hmm.
and then that will in turn improve your relationships and your dating life and your married life. Am I with it?
You're right there on the button. Those things, as far as like the married life, the relationships, those things are the byproduct of you improving yourself. Those things happen as a result, as the default result of you improving yourself. And so, if you want to get that, if you want to get to that place, the starting point is actually becoming the type of person that does that, becoming the type of person that lives that life. And this is going to be a great segue once we get into the 100-day challenge. But long story short, all those things you want in life, the reason why you don't have it yet is because you're not that person that has it yet. Simple as that. I mean, if you think about it in terms of health, I mean, you want a great body. Are you the type of person that eats well? Are you the type of person that prioritizes sleep, that is conscious about the things they put in their body? Or you're the type of person that's like, you know what, I'm gonna have Oreos for the fourth time today, and so then you can't be mad when you don't have those results. And so one great way to look at it, one great way to frame it, is that those things are not really results, but really reflections of who you are. They're a feedback to who you are. And so, kind of like a car, like a check engine light, if you will, that tells you where you're at. And so, if you want a better life, don't look at the outside world and a better relationship. Don't look at the outside world and think like, oh, life sucks, this, that, and the other. Like, no, it's a reflection of the changes that you need to make. And once you make those changes, then that will change.
Yeah, one of the quotes that you really kind of paused me with whenever I was pulling up some of your information from the amazing wealth of knowledge that you put out on Instagram and social media altogether, is every decision you make is not a decision about what you do. It's a decision about who you are. It's like, man,
Yeah.
man, that's that vote, that decision to go work out is not like, it's not a big deal, right? If you miss one workout, it's not the end of the world.
No.
But every time you make that decision to go work out, you are now the type of person who works out even when you don't want to, even when it's cold outside, even when it's hot outside, whatever. But that's the type of person you are voting to become by each of those decisions. And as you accumulate those votes, next thing you know, you're a healthy person. You are a social person. You are a fun person. How do we tap into that more though? How do we use that quote? So every decision, it's not what we do. That's not a big deal. What we do can change in environments and stuff, but it's who you are. How do we take that to the next step of, okay, I want to become better. I want to become a better, person in whatever category. We can take it whichever way you want. But how do we use that philosophy, that energy, to actually become the person that we're striving for, to become the best person that we can be?
That's a fantastic question. And so, off the top of my head, it's two parts of that. And so, the very first thing is when we talk about what we do is a reflection of who we are. For me, I love to get really granular because the devil's in the details. And I say that because let's take the example of working out. People have this unrealistic image that I'm gonna go wake up every single day and I'm going to go hard and I'm gonna go this, that, and the other. Like, no, that's perfection, and perfection doesn't exist. And so what they end up doing is judging themselves by the perfection instead of I got in today. The realistic, what consistency really looks like is showing up. It's just doing the action. There's no, and I like to make it super easy. Listen, I don't care. Like I tell my clients, I don't care if you talk to a person and you're like, "Hey, how's it going? Great to meet you today." Or even if you whisper it and go, "Hi, my name is Pablo." I don't care. You still did the action. And so first, so the very first thing when we talk about like the actions that we're doing, and as far as getting to become that person, is we have to give ourselves grace. We're too hard on ourselves. The main goal here is not trying to be perfect, live to expectation. It's just simply to do the action. That's all I care. The win is in the action, not in what happens afterwards. You get what I'm saying? So
Yep.
people, they want to go to the gym and they're like, okay, well, I didn't see a six pack, so I guess I didn't do the action. No, the six pack is an external result. The action is lifting the weight. The action is doing the walk. I don't care if you're out of breath. I don't care if it takes you, 20 minutes to run a mile versus 4 minutes. You ran a mile. That's the task. Run a mile. There's no details as far as doing a this time limit or anything like that. Eventually, naturally, as you want to improve, you want to improve everything else. But for anyone that's just starting out, what you want, just simple, say hi to somebody. Doesn't matter. It could be the clerk at the store. It could be the person bagging your groceries. It could be the attractive person you see on the street. Doesn't matter. Just say hi. That's the task. Because then what happens is that now you start to build a habit. Now you start to build a habit of the action. Okay. One of the like the first exercises that I give any client I work with is simply start saying hi to 5 people a day that you don't know. Just start saying hi. And everyone looks at me all weird, like, why? But hear me out. You're not just saying hi. You're actually building the habit of being social. And so let's say with the gym, the first step is not to get big to lose weight. No, it's to build the habit of showing up. That's the very first thing. Everybody wants to, lift all these weights and, lose all this weight and do all stuff. Like, no, 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 no. If you're just starting out, you have to develop the habit of showing up. You have to develop the habit of doing the action first. Once that's in place, then you can go on and build after that. So when it comes to becoming that person, the first step is just building the habit of the action. It doesn't have to be pretty. It doesn't have to be long. You could literally you can go outside. I told one client who's actually like he wants to work on his weight. I told him, listen, just walk down the block and walk back. That's your workout for the day. I just want you to get in the habit of doing something because habits build on top of each other. So that's the
Yeah.
first thing. The second part, as far as becoming that person is essentially it's about it's about understanding this part. And this is a very key distinction because you mentioned like the way the question was phrased, like how do I become that person? And I thought long and hard about this, and when you think about like that, like how do I become that person? It always puts that person out in the future as someone like I'm going to become, someone that I'll eventually be, and it can be a great motivator. It can be a great motivator.
Yeah.
However, sometimes what happens is that because it's out there, it's something over there, we lose our excitement and fun and joy in the present, which is why
Yeah.
getting up at 6 a.m. to the gym sucks, which is why it's like, I don't want to eat this healthy kale smoothie for the fourth time. I don't want to do it. And that's what causes people to break that chain, to stop being consistent because in the moment they're not having fun. And so one great mental frame that I've been able to get clear on, it's to define it like this. And I've always thought about it, but recently, like I listened to Alex Hormozy, he clarified it for me, and it's like this. And so, if we define that version of you by a set of actions, like the type of person, when we describe, well, what type of person is Derek? Well, he's supportive, very knowledgeable, he's ambitious. Okay, cool. So, how do you define ambitious? Well, he has he sets a goal for himself that he's never done. He sets goals for himself that he's never done before. Cool, right? So let's take that definition, which defines they're ambitious. And so then, for yourself in the moment, if I'm trying to be ambitious like you, then all I got to do is set goals I've never done before. Each day, go after something I've never done before. So, if you're following, then the moment I do that action, I'm immediately the person I want to become. And so for me, because of my life between running my coaching company and I have a daughter, she, first time dad. So my time is kind of crazy. And so for me to get my workout in, I wake up at 6 a.m. and I work out at 7. Now, I've been doing it for, I'm going to say like the last 8 months, something like that. And waking up at 6 a.m., it ain't fun. It's gotten a little bit easier. It ain't fun. But, my partner actually asked me, like, why do you go to that class? And I told her because the act of waking up and tackling that first thing in the morning, especially for me, who's in the past I've told myself I'm not a morning person, the act of waking up and doing that, it every day proves to me the type of person that I am. And so my win is the moment I just show up at the gym. And so I'm able to experience that identity now. And that's
Yeah.
and gives me that motivation like every single day, and that's where my joy comes from. And then lastly, I just thought about this too. Lastly, I got this from, this was a great tactic, but I got this from James Clear, Atomic Habits. And in the book, he talks about a story about a famous ballerina who's great, and she's notorious for working out early. And they ask her, like, so how do you show up to the gym so many times? How are you so consistent with it? And then she responds, my win, the thing that I'm consistent in is not showing up to the gym. It's just getting in the cab. And so for her, she gets in the cab, go to the gym. And so for all of us and all the things that we want to do and the things that we're trying to be, there is a version of just getting in the cab, which is just the version of just showing up. So for me, as far as working out, it's as long as the minute I put water in my face, that's fine. Like I'm awake, I'm already awake, might as well keep going to the gym. Like that's my initial thing. For the guys that I talk to, their version of getting in the cab is just showing up to the location where they're going to meet people. Just show up there. Whether or not you talk to people, I don't care. But everyone has that little thing where it's your version of just showing up at the cab. So I would combine those three things: show up in the cab, defining the action, and knowing that doing the action makes you that person right now in this moment. Those three things can get anyone started towards becoming that person they want to be.
Yeah, that I remember, and I forget where exactly I heard it, but there was a woman who, let's say, these numbers aren't exactly what it was, but she lost like 50 pounds, and they were like, "What did you start to do? How did you eat?" And she said, "Before I would eat anything, I would ask, what is a healthy choice, or what would a healthy me do?" And so she would ask that, like, what is a healthy me going to choose? And so she would choose not to eat the donut. And then, the next time she's like, what would a healthy me choose? Well, I'm going to get the chicken salad. And so it's kind of what you're saying. She probably was still thinking that she was not the healthiest version of herself yet. Like she was probably still thinking about that her in the future who lost weight and was fit and stuff. But there is a lot of value to what you're saying in terms of like, well, if you made that choice today, what separates you from the healthy version of you that you're striving for, and a healthy version of you today? You're like, well, it's the actions. Now, there's an outcome of making those actions repeatedly that we need to see, but being like not being hard on yourself is a big part of that, I think, in what you're saying in terms of like starting to create that mental picture of this is who I am. I may not have the results yet. I'm making these choices today of the healthy me, or the social me, or the happy me, or the positive me, or the fun me. I'm making those choices today. As I accumulate that, there will be some external goals that I want it to lead to, but that doesn't mean that I'm not that person today. It's so fascinating, the psychology behind it. Because when you start to tap into that you are that person already, those external results that you're looking for come a whole lot faster
Yes, they
because
do.
you're already thinking and living like that person.
Yeah,
So it's like this is kind of a chicken or egg situation. Like when you're
yeah,
working with clients on improving their social health, their dating life, do you see that it's and I'm going to ask this question. I'm already saying like it's either or. Is it that they start to see themselves as a, fun, social, confident person and that leads to confidence, or they start to take the actions to be that a confident person would take, and then that improves the mental aspect of it coming that way? Like which way do you think it goes the strongest?
I think it goes the latter, where they start taking the different actions, which causes themselves to see themselves differently. I had a client in Brazil recently, and he would, he's a great guy, tall, lots of good thing going for himself, and he would tell me how he would go out and he would see women and women would make eye contact with him, but he would not do anything. He would get in his head, feel nervous, and end up feeling frustrated. And so I told him, I was like, all right, let's just do something different. And I'm like, what is the smallest action, right? Let's start with this. So first off, the thing is like small, easy action. Then I asked him, what is the thing that the future you, the guy who is attractive, the guy who can do it all, wait, what's one thing that he would do? And he's like, he would just say hi. Or no. He said, no, he would compliment people. And I'm like, cool, that's it. Your job, just compliment 5 people. No more, no less, just 5 people. After that, you can go home if you want. And I kid you not, afterwards, he sent me a text, Pablo, I complimented 9. And 1 actually came and talked to me. And then, because then what happens is that they see themselves taking action that they normally wouldn't. And then they see themselves doing things that are in their head. Because this is like, again, I have a psychology degree, so I geek out on these things. But what happens is that a big frustration with a lot of people is that they have this version of themselves in their head, these actions that they wish that they could take. And the suffering comes from the fact that what they're doing in real life is not matching with who they want to be in their head. And I feel like that's a lot of times, like even in health, who they want to be does not match up with who they see in the mirror or how they're moving. And so the minute that you start taking actions that are closer in line with who you want to be, the more the confidence builds and the more you start to see yourself differently. And the more you start to see yourself differently, your self-image, now you start acting differently. Because we only act to the capability, to the limits of our self-image. So and the thing is, if you don't see yourself as the healthy person, if you don't see yourself as the social person, then no matter what you do, you're never going to outperform your self-image. But what ends up happening is that, and it's funny too, it's kind of using the brain against itself. So at least in my field, when I talk to guys and I go, well, why can't you go up and talk to women? Well, because I've never have before and I've struggled before. So what they're telling me is because of all this evidence in the past, that's the reason why they can't do something in the present. And I'm like, all right, cool. So rather than trying to use some mental judo to be like, no, you can do it. Just believe in yourself. No, let's use it. So in that case, let me have him start taking all these little actions. Let me have him start saying the easiest thing he could do, which is just start saying hi. Just saying hi,
Yeah.
boom, 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 boom. Then before you know it, 30 days have gone by. He said hi, and then say what? 30 times 5 was that 150, and so they said hi to 150 new people in a month, and then by the end of it I asked them, when's the last time you talked to 150 people? And they're like, well, have you talked to 150 people in the last year? No, I haven't. And then just that question, all of a sudden they're like, whoa, I'm different. I this
Yeah.
is this my new life now? And so, and also part of it too, as a coach, you kind of help them along by saying little phrases like, welcome to your new life. This is what you do now. And so now,
Yeah.
because now I've tied it into their identity, because any type of change, at least for me, and this is like one of the things that I work with, it has to be tied into the identity. And so for
Yeah.
me, it's not even really about the results. I know we want these results, but if we want them, like the actions that we take, it has to be in line with our identity of who we think we are. And so I guess to answer your question that you had before, like, yes, the first thing is to have them do the actions, because you can tell someone, look in the mirror and say you're good looking, look in the mirror and say you're fit. We both know that that doesn't work. I'm not a big fan of affirmations personally, because I'm sure they work to a certain effect, but realistically, at least in my experiences, you have the critical side of your brain that's like, yeah, okay, yeah, all right, we sound dumb, but evidence evidence is undeniable. If I tell a client, like, listen, how many women, how many people have you talked to in the last month? 150. Oh wait, so you can't do that? Oh, I guess you can do this now, and then that's
Yeah.
undeniable right there. So yeah, I would say that first.
I love it. Yeah, I mean, same thing with probably all areas. We are, this is kind of goes back to the decisions. We are the actions we take. Like it, other than that, you can tell yourself one thing, but your actions are what your subconscious says. This is who we are.
Well, yeah.
I am a social person. You talked about confidence.
Mhm.
And I know you talk quite a bit about confidence on quite a few of your social posts. You look like you have a series on confidence. Why do we have such an issue with confidence? And my other question with that, as you're answering it, just to kind of put it out there, is do we have a faulty definition of confidence? And that creates some issues with it in most people. I would venture to guess when I'm talking to people about business, about life, about social relationships, 80% would describe themselves as not as confident as they want to be in those areas. So why are we having such a major issue with confidence in the world today? I don't know if that's always been the case. And are we defining confidence incorrectly, and that kind of affects the way we feel about ourselves with it?
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, that's actually fantastic. I guess I'll answer in reverse. So yes, I do believe we have a horrible definition of confidence these days. And the definition that I feel people have of confidence is confidence that they will get a certain outcome, that a certain thing will happen. The problem with that is that that's the equivalent of having confidence in the rain. You can't control the rain. Like and that's the reason why people feel nervous. Like if I had to say to you, like, hey, Derek, listen, yeah, you have to promise me that it's going to rain tomorrow. Where I am right now, you have to promise me it's going to rain tomorrow. If not, I'm taking away everything you have. Now you're like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, and you feel that nervousness, and your lack of confidence is gone because one, you feel like you're going to lose something, and you have no control over that thing, over the rain. And so when it comes to confidence in general, the reason why people lack confidence is because they're placing it on the wrong thing. So as far as like defining confidence, the Google definition is to have certainty. It's a feeling of certainty, which I get. Now, like I said, just people are placing the certainty on the wrong thing. That's it. So I guess in my world, when I talk to guys, it's that they like the reason why they're not confident because they're not certain whether or not the woman will like them. They're not certain whether or not the woman will go out with them. They're not certain whether or not she will reject them. And that uncertainty, that lack of control, makes them feel worried. Now, the so all you got to, and I call that external confidence, where
Yeah.
you are placing your confidence on things outside of your control. What I like to do with my clients is I like to shift them to an internal confidence, internal based confidence, which is confidence on things you can control. So if you're gonna have certainty on things you can control. There was this one client, particularly one time, I was working with him in LA, and we went out, and we were walking, and I had him just say hi to people. Boom, 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 say hi to people. And by the way, don't knock that exercise. It sounds stupid and simple, but it's powerful. Okay, I've done it. I've had other people have done it, and in this example, right? I asked them, like, after you say hi to people, and I go, well, how do you feel? Like, how confident do you feel in your ability to say hi? And he's like, yeah, no, I can say hi now. I go, okay, cool. Can you say hi while tying your shoes? Yeah. Can you say hi while in a very loud club? Can you just execute that? Can you say the word hi? Yeah. And I go, well, what if the person speaks a different language? Can you still say hi? Yeah, I can still execute hi. And so what that ended up doing is that I gave him a bunch of scenarios, a couple of different variables that he can't control, that he doesn't know is going to happen. Yet, despite the uncertainty, he had confidence in his ability to say hi. So when it comes to building confidence, the thing that I would tell a lot of my clients is to shift to an internal based confidence where your certainty, the certainty that you have, is your ability to tell a story, is my ability to say hi. Again, it goes back to those actions that we were talking about. And then not only that, it would go even deeper, is certainty that even if it doesn't go well, I'll be okay. It goes back to that famous quote, is that confidence isn't knowing they will like you, it's knowing you'll be all right if they don't. And so and I'm sure, like, I mean, matter of fact, we could do like this, you and your profession, okay? Let's say you're working with a patient, and then for some odd reason, um, uh, maybe you misread something, right? Maybe misdiagnosed something, right? But I imagine as you work with a patient, that doesn't come to mind. I mean, you're not like, oh my God, I hope I don't mess up at home. What if it's this? What if it's this one? No, because in the back of your head, I imagine if you were to misdiagnose someone, you'd be like, I'm okay. I know how to fix it. I know what to do. I know how to handle it, make them feel better. Am I right?
Yeah, that twist of confidence and certainty is, I feel like maybe I've heard that, but I don't know if I've heard it the way that you put it. That's powerful because I can have certainty that I'm going to do the absolute best for my patients. I don't know what the outcome of that's going to be. In general, we want that to be where they accomplish all their goals, they live their healthiest life, they live to 100, they maintain all the education that we did. The reality is that that's not going to happen. And so if I place my confidence in that every single patient had to get 100% better, have no dysfunction, no pain, and have like perfect health, I would be a very unconfident practitioner, and that would show. But I have complete certainty that based on my education and every patient that I've seen, that we're going to give the best care, the best experience possible.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, with that certainty, with that confidence, if we want to sub in, I'm like, oh, that's so much easier, right? Like even you telling me that, I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
I'm certain I can have that.
Oh, absolutely.
So it
Absolutely.
makes it way more attainable. Me having confidence, it seems like this heavy weight that I have to lift.
Yeah. Yeah, and I just wanted to throw this part in too, because some people, some new medical professionals, they may not have your experience yet, right? So then, what do we tell those people, those that are just starting out? Like, of course, Dr. Derrick, he's has experience, and he has all this background, this knowledge. I don't have that yet, so I can't be confident. I haven't completed all the actions yet. Cool. What if I'm in an arena that I'm not in yet? Because I know, for some of us, am I allowed to say about the book? I mean, it's too.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, cool. So that's a new arena for you, which that's something, at least to my knowledge, like you've never really done before. So how do we transfer that confidence there to other areas of our lives? And so what I tell people, I guess at the basics form, this is like the easiest way to be confident and to have that internal sense of certainty is your approach, your way of being that you'll bring into the moment. Have confidence on what you're bringing to the moment. I'll give you an example. Is that at least for me in my coaching career. When I first started out, I had a bit, I was a little bit unsure of myself to do it on my own. Like I've coached before, but then to do it on my own, it's like, oh man, like am I good enough? There are other people out there with more years of experience than I do. However, the thing that at least that kept me going is knowing and have certainty is my approach is I'm gonna care. If anything else, I'm going to have certainty in my ability to care, and that's my approach, and that's what my intention. So let's say if you combine certainty with intention, you have confidence. So let's take it into the realm of dating, certainty and my ability to listen. And so guess what? This person may be out of my league. You know what? I don't know, but this is what I know I'm going to do. My approach, my intention to make them feel good. This is what I'm going to do to make them feel heard. And I'm sure with you, with your patients, I'll make them feel comfortable. I'm going to make them feel like I care. And so when you have that, I think that definitely takes your confidence, to a new level where it's not only something you're feeling, but now something you can execute. So even if you're going to the gym for the first time, and guess what, you're insecure, maybe you're not happy with your body, you see other people lifting crazy weights and things like that, and well, guess what? All right, cool. My plan. My intention is to attack this with open mind. I'm gonna be open minded. I'm going to give my best. I'm gonna be vulnerable. I'm gonna allow myself to be seen. That's my intention, and that's what I'm certain that I can do in this moment. So when you combine those two things together, certainty and intention, you have confidence. At least in my book.
I love it. Yeah, that's fantastic. I feel like you can take that in every area of your life and see dramatic differences of like I'm certain of this, that I'm certain that I can go at this intention specifically. I
Absolutely.
want to get, I do want to, I want to get, I know we're talking a lot of like philosophy, and it's one of my favorite subjects of like how to think about these things. But you bring up something like that, like in a social situation. And I do want people to have some tangible takeaways.
Yeah.
So in that situation, when people are nervous to go and talk to this potential partner, current, relationship status, if they're talking to a new person versus like, they're, somebody that they've been on a few dates with, anything like that. What do you coach people to have as a good intention? You said just to make them feel good. Like if you see an attractive person and you're single and you're going to go talk to them, and the outcome that makes that successful is, do they like you or do they want to go on a date with you? That's big. That's a lot.
I disagree. That's the
If
I respectfully disagree. That's the faulty. That's what sets you up to fail right there. The outcome. You
That's what I'm
guys.
saying.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. Like if that's what your outcome is, then you're going to feel, man, this is a lot. Like this is really hard for me to succeed at.
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of people, that is their measuring stick in those moments is, do I get a phone number? Do I get a date? Do they like me? And of course you're nervous about that. You're nervous about the rain, right?
Yeah.
It goes back to that.
Yeah.
Like I'm not going to be very confident because I have zero control over that.
Yeah.
So what do you coach people in social situations? What intent do you coach them on having that makes that certainty easier to attain and more fun and everything that comes with it?
I love that. I mean,
Sorry, that was a terribly
no.
designed question, but let's go.
Yeah. Yeah. No, you're okay. No, you're completely right because guess what? It's at least in the dating world, it's not an exact science. It's a soft skill. You can literally do everything right and still not go out with the person. I can't tell you how many times where I've done everything perfect and yet still no dice. But it's funny, it's not your fault. Maybe it was just a bad day. Maybe they like in my particular situation, I met a woman and everything was going great, and I tried to connect, like ask for the phone number, things like that, and I got declined, but it was because she was there for her friend's bachelorette party. And so, when I told my friend about it, he goes, "Well, Pablo, if you were there with your people, with your guys, with your boys, would you do it?" I'm like, "No, I'd stay with my friends." And so That's what I mean, that you can do everything right and still not work out. So as far as like tactically speaking, what do you do to sense the attention despite all that? It's what I would do, what I tell my guys, it's essentially to just focus on hitting certain checkpoints. That's all it is, right? I like to set expectations ahead of time, and we use our desires, our outcome, to dictate what we do. So if we are trying to, get a romantic relationship, then then use the outcome to dictate what actions you take, as opposed to maybe I'm networking for friendship, for business purposes. That would dictate a certain different type of actions. So tactically speaking, what I would have them do is to set different checkpoints, and it depends too on their skill level. I
Yeah.
don't want to overwhelm guys, but as far as tactically speaking, let's say you're out and about, you want to meet someone new, you have you have nervousness. So I would tell you to. So step one, build momentum. Confidence will come from momentum. Don't try to talk to the most attractive person in the room. If I were you, talk to everybody. Take a lap around the room. Say, hey, how are you doing? And go compliment people. That's the best way to do it because you're giving value. So tactically speaking, and here we go. It's one of the things. The very first things is get good at just giving value. And what does it mean to give value? It means to, like I said, make people feel good about themselves. And one of the best ways to do it is to give a genuine compliment and not want anything out of it. And so, what I tell my guys to do, even from the door, even the bouncer, the person that's taking your coat, the person that's taking your drink order, it doesn't matter. Even if it's a man, a woman, someone you're attracted to, someone you're not attracted to, it doesn't matter. Go and just give them a compliment and have your intention be to give. You're freaking out because you're worried you're not going to get. Well, take that away by just focusing on giving. Give value, give value, give value. And
Have you
then,
seen these videos? Sorry, by I was trying to figure out the guy. I think his name is like Hawk. He's maybe he's British, but he goes and just
yeah,
gives
yeah,
these
yeah, guy,
like
yeah, Troy Hawk. I love that guy.
he goes and gives. If y'all haven't seen this and you're listening to it, go look up. Is it Troy Hawk?
Troy Hawk, yeah.
He goes out and he's dressed in like a suit. I thought about you when I saw it because I think he's got a red velvet suit on, and I was like,
Yeah.
man, this dude is like out of Pablo's school, and he just gives the most like interesting and genuine compliments to people, and like he was doing it maybe in London, and everybody's like, oh well, come try that in New York City, like you'll see. So he goes to New York and he walks up to people and he's like, you look like a mixture between a superhero and a backyard dad. I love it. And people are like, man, thank you. Like that you see me. You got me. And it creates this like I know that people start like follow him around while he's doing this because you're like somebody gives you that and you're just like, man, that feels good. Who is this person?
Oh yeah.
I,
Oh
I
yeah.
love it. Like I look at that, and there's no way he can finish that and not feel good. Like it's reciprocal, right? He's got to finish doing that and be like, I don't know if this is gonna make good video content. That's why he's doing it. I don't know if I impacted anybody. I don't know, but I feel really good after doing that for an hour.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. No, yeah, no, I love that you said that because you end up feeling good. You end up feeling good. And the funny thing is that, we while we are chasing these outcomes, what we're really chasing is feelings. It's the feelings that these outcomes will give you, which is why doing something like this, let's say you went around, you complimented people, and they responded well, you're going to go home happy. Even though you didn't go home with a date or a phone number, you're going to go home feeling like, wow, like I really connected and I really have fun. And I love that you brought that guy up because we actually studied him in my men's group on how to give compliments, how to give bespoke compliments. And the formula that I broke down, this is the simplest version for everyone. It's for everyone listening. It's simple. When you notice somebody, ask yourself, what caught my eye about them and why? And so what I mean by that is like, let's say, you see someone and they have, red shoes on. And so you simply, the structure is like, hey, this will take 2 seconds. And trust me, use those words. When you say this will take 2 seconds, this is known as a time constraint. Derek knows about it, where it immediately lowers someone's defenses because when you say that, it lets them know, hey, I'm not going to be here for a long time. So saying, hey, this will just take 2 seconds, boom, you lower their defenses a little bit. They will give you the time of day to listen to what you have to say. So, hey, this will take 2 seconds. I really like your blank, whatever it is. It really caught my eye. The reason why I love it is because blank. Now you have to say the because part, because if you just came up and like if I came up to you, Derek, and I just say, "Hey, I really like your hair." Well, if you know,
Thanks.
how many times have you heard that before? It's blank,
Yeah.
it's generalized. It seemed like, all right, maybe this guy wants something. Like, why is he here? But if he says like, hey, listen, I really love your hair because it reminds me of the 1920s slick back where everybody was really cool back in the day, and just you walking now, you just seem something out of a Hollywood movie, and it caught my eye. And so
Yeah.
now
That hits different, right?
it hits different. And so you want to say because the reason why, and you also want to personalize it. And so anything you say, just ask yourself, well, why does it stick out? Well, don't say because it's red, because it's bright. Well, what about it? Does it remind you of something? Does it make you feel something? Does it, make you, does it have a thought come to mind? And so when you say the because part, that makes it super relatable. So, to recap, it's hey, this will take 2 seconds. But I just wanted to say that I love your blank because blank. And then you can just end it right there and just say, have a great day. If you want to continue, go ahead. But at the very basic, go ahead and do that. And you just watch how people go, oh, wow, thank you so much. And then it's funny enough, a lot of my guys that I work with, they're surprised when the person that they're complimenting goes into a full on story. They go, well, thank you. Well, my grandmother got this, and it was the funniest thing ever. And they're like, wait, I'm in conversation now? Whoa, I'm talking to people? So I love that guy. He's a great guy to study. Troy Hawk, look him up. I agree with you. Yes.
Yeah, I love that framework too because that's kind of an easy to execute in every situation. Like even if I'm at a business mixer, and I think sometimes this is all muscles, right? That you're building the muscle to come up with those because things. The more you do it, the first few times it might be like because it made me feel good because it looks fantastic, in this light, whatever. Like you can make up I don't think I think it's one of those things where, as part of human nature, it doesn't matter what comes after because very much. Like if it's more heartfelt, it's going to be better, or if it's going to be more authentic. But they've done all these studies where someone says like, "Hey, do you mind if I cut in line?" Stop. Like 25% of the time, people would let them. Hey, do you mind if I cut in line because I'm in a hurry? Like 70% of people let them cut. It's like our brain is just triggered. We almost don't listen after because, but you gave me a reason. That's all my human brain wanted. And so like I am entertaining that thought more now that it actually meant something to you because there was a reason. I don't know that my brain cares what the reason is, but so for those of you listening, it doesn't have to be great like that. And you can do this. I mean, this is on family, right? We got holidays coming up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, oh, I hadn't seen him in a minute. Man, I love that sweater because that looks like what Papa used to wear when we were kids. You're starting to look distinguished. You're starting to get there.
That's it. That's it. That's it. And it's beautiful. And I'm telling you, you can use this on any setting. That's why I love these things. And it goes back to what we were talking about at the beginning, because once you get this part of your life, squared away, it really translates to other areas of your life. Like, for example, there was this one time I met the headlining speaker at a conference unknowingly, where I was just in a group of men talking, and then one guy, he was like, "Hey, guy," we were all saying like, "Hey, let's go out and get drinks." He's like, "You know what? I gotta go. I'm gonna leave. I gotta go wake up and run in the morning. I'm training for a triathlon." And then the next day, I go up to him and I go, "Hey, listen, I just gotta say, I really admire that about you. I really like that you left early because it shows that you're disciplined. Everyone wanted to leave, but that type of dedication, I really admire that, and that's because of X, Y, and Z." And he's like, "Oh, no, thanks so much." And then little did I know, like 15 minutes later, he walks on stage as the headlining speaker, and I'm like, "Oh, wow." But here's the best part. The best part, at the end of the event, I'm saying goodbye to everybody, and I'm saying, "Okay, hey, I'll see you later, John." And then he goes, "Oh, Pop, real quick, let's exchange numbers." And I'm like, wow. And so just from a compliment, you become that type of person where these things are a default result, like we were talking about at the beginning.
You talk about that. So I was at a conference a few weeks ago, and the main speaker was Marcus Lemonis of the Prophet, brilliant business mind. And one of the things he got up and he talked about, and I've heard you talk about this quite a bit. I wanted to kind of spend a moment on it because I think it does open up a lot of avenues for people. He will not work in business with someone who cannot be vulnerable with him. And so he got up and started talking about, look, I've had weight issues in the past and I still have body image, and I'm very strict with my diet because I've had body image issues in the past. I've had, childhood. He went through probably like 3 or 4 very vulnerable things. Like right away. Very heartfelt. And he's like, look, I'm telling y'all that because I want you to know me. I'm about to talk to y'all for 2 hours. I want you to really know me. And immediately you just kind of looked at this dude differently because he comes up and there's a power dynamic. He's the speaker. We're all kind of sitting there. But for him to open with that vulnerability immediately, he's just like this guy that you're in tune with and you're listening very deeply. Very good speaker. I really loved it. But the one thing I took away was how powerful vulnerability can be. And you've mentioned that a lot. Talk about vulnerability in terms of social health and maybe what that means, how we should use that, when we should use that. It can be a little weird, there's times where maybe we haven't built that up. I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. We had a random encounter yesterday where a woman we didn't really know was being very vulnerable and telling us about her relationship and the challenges that she was having. This was not a patient of mine. That would make complete sense, but like a random person in the store. And we kind of walked away and we're like, no, that's not right. That's too much. Like, you were being vulnerable, but that's not the right context.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about the power of vulnerability and how important that is in social and relationship health.
Oh yeah. So vulnerability is important once understood, and it's necessary, especially to make connections with people and partners in general. Simply because, well, you can't connect with no one if you don't let them in. That's the thing. Brene Brown has a great definition of vulnerability, where she says it's emotional risk or exposure. And the way
Say that again.
Yeah. And so she defines vulnerability as emotional risk or exposure.
Okay.
Yeah, which in a nutshell, if I can translate, is essentially letting people see your ugly side, letting people see you as not pretty, as not put together, allowing them to see you that way. Now, to break it down, there's a difference between what the woman did, the lady did at the store, versus allowing someone to see you at your worst. Now, some people, when they think of vulnerability, and from what I'm hearing, perhaps this woman, again, this is just my guess here, but it's for some people, it's a way to kind of get attention and to get connection, whereas it has an ulterior motive, which is to get you to connect to me. And so I'm going to share all these things about you. Whereas with the speaker that you were talking about, I'm allowing you to see me as how I really am in this current moment, and it doesn't matter whether you respond or not. It doesn't matter whether or not you like me or not, or you connect with me or not, because I'm allowing you to just be seen. So vulnerability is more about you, the person, rather than somebody else. And so, that's number one. So know that it's for you, and that when you do it, it's actually a way of, funny enough, it's actually a way to love yourself. Vulnerability is a way to love yourself, and because it shows that, because anytime we push things down, there's a message that goes back inside that says, this is not good enough, hide it. This is not worthy of love. This is not worthy of attention, affection, so hide it, put it away. And then the message that goes down deeper, I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy. So then it goes down. So, but when you allow yourself to be seen, and you just, you allow it to show, what gets communicated is you're valuable. You're loved even if you're crying. You're loved even if you're not confident, even if you're not at your best. A lot of the men that I work with, it's a big thing that we talk about, especially when you're in relationships. And I'm going to admit, it's something that that I've I've learned to grow with. It's how do I show vulnerability with my partner? Because of course I want to portray strong and I want to be the rock, but there's some days that I'm not the rock, and so the alternative to that is let me just put the walls up. But the end result that happens is, like I said before, if you put the walls up, no one can get in, which is what we really want at the end of the day. We want people to
Yeah.
connect with us. And so, it goes back to what I say. So the first thing is allowing yourself to be seen because it's an act of self-love. It's teaching yourself that I am worthy even if I'm ugly, even if I'm not pretty, even if I'm not at my best, I'm still valuable enough to be heard and to be seen. So that's the first thing right there. The second thing with vulnerability is to, understand that like it's scary. It is scary. But the funny thing is, like the speaker was doing, right? We think it's the thing that will push people away, but it's actually what will bring people closer.
Yeah.
Because anytime we put up a mask, oh, I'm super tough and no one's gonna see me be sad. And trust me, like that's the story of my life where one of my messages was always be happy. Don't show them anything else. But for me, at least in my relationships, like one compliment that I've gotten recently was the fact that I am able to be vulnerable. I have cried in front of my partner, and she loves that about me. And when I do cry, it's not to get attention or to play victim or to have her, do anything like that, but just to allow my true self to be seen. And when you allow yourself to be truly seen, you create an amazing connection, which is what that speaker did on stage. He did it not to do anything, but to create the setting for an amazing and impactful connection between him and the crowd and him and anyone that he works with. Because and now when you have that connection, now we're not doing this stupid back and forth game like, so what do you do? Okay, all right, where are you from? All right, like no, we're here for a real human connection. And so vulnerability, it's absolutely necessary in relationships. And I guess I'll say this part as well, as far as vulnerability, uh, other people have to earn it. So that's something big as well. So there are different, in my mind, there are different levels of vulnerability. So there is, vulnerability in terms of authenticity, which means I'm gonna allow you to see me, Derek. Like I'm not gonna put a mask on. You're gonna hear me talk fast. You're gonna hear me stutter. A Spanish accent may come out here and there. I'm not gonna apologize for it. It's who I am. It's authenticity. Now, there's a deeper side behind that where the sides of me where maybe I don't feel strong, maybe where I don't feel confident, feel weak. And you and I have that relationship, so I have no problem doing it with you. But uh, you know, there are maybe 5 people I could count on my hand that have earned the right to see that, have earned the right to my vulnerability. And
Yeah.
whereas an average person on the street, just because I don't want to share this with you, it doesn't mean I'm not vulnerable. I still am vulnerable. I'm able to be vulnerable. It's just because of the nature of the conversation, the depth of our relationship, that just hasn't been earned yet. And so, what I say to people is that like yes, it has to be earned, and then when you do it, just allow yourself to be seen. Allow yourself to be seen as not pretty, and you'll find that you'll actually connect with a lot more people than you realize.
Yeah, I had this written down and I was going to circle back to it and I didn't know where it fit in, but it's so interesting as we talk about authenticity and vulnerability. And you can't have one without the other. Like, even while you were explaining that, you were like, they see you and you're authentic.
Mm-hmm.
Like, being authentic is you being vulnerable about like whatever those ugly sides are, whatever those challenges or struggles that you have, and that's okay. Like
Yeah,
that is authentic, and we're
yeah,
all like one thing that I think I've always like wanted to strive for and have it as a goal is to be authentic. Like,
mm-hmm.
just like get into your authentic self and know who you are and work on that. Like,
Yeah,
get down deep into that, and it feels really good when you're like, here's my story, here's the things that I'm great at, here's the things that I struggle with, and that's okay. Here's the things that I've done well, I've made mistakes, and that's okay. And that level, it's like vulnerability is the path to authenticity. I'm learning as I speak, as we always do. So talk a little bit about the connection of that, because I've never related those until you started to explain that you can't be authentic without being vulnerable.
absolutely.
That doesn't exist.
Absolutely. You can't be an authentic person if you're not vulnerable. I 150% agree with that. And the thing is that you know, authenticity. Like authenticity. It's about being whole. It's about showing all sides of yourself. Like if you're not showing all sides of yourself, you're not embracing all sides of yourself, then you're not authentic. And part of one of those sides is the vulnerability. It's the parts of where you're sad. It's the parts of when you're not your best, when you're not at your most confident. That is part of the whole. And if you can't accept those things, if you can't go like you said, like, you know what, I'm not feeling confident. Sometimes I struggle with this. I'm not the best at this. If you're not able to look at those things and say, and that's okay, you will never access your full authenticity. And so, like, one of the things that I tell a lot of my clients is, as far as like, which brings, actually, you know what, which brings us to another topic that's actually necessary, and it's part of the whole authentic and the whole authenticity conversation, which is the concept of wholeness. So, when we are trying to achieve something or even become the best version of ourselves, we're always trying to aspire to the positive aspect, the positive traits. And like, oh, that's me as my best self. That's me being my most authentic. But your goal is not to be your most authentic. Your goal is to be the most whole. That's the magic key right there. And that's what I teach a lot of my guys. And that's also what helps with confidence as well. Because guess what? Like for me, I'll go up and talk to someone, and guess what? I already know I'm 5'9" and some change. I'm bald. My teeth got a little gap in it as well. I speak very fast with a Spanish accent, comes out time to time. That's part of the whole, and because I've accepted it and I know it, that helps me own my authenticity a little bit more and gives me a lot more flavor. It makes me more distinct from the average person. But that's only possible when you have self-acceptance, acceptance of the whole. And to give everyone, the listeners, an idea of what that's like, is like I use a couple examples, but one thing is like that I talk about is like, all right, let's just use, for example, I always use an example. It's the difference between a Ferrari and a Prius. Okay, so a Ferrari, yes, it's fast, it's sexy, we love it, it gets attention, but guess what? It guzzles gas. Hey, if you chip that thing, it's going to cost more than a Prius to fix it. But when people buy it, you accept it as a whole. Same thing with a Prius. Like, yeah, great gas mileage, great for the environment, and it's fantastic. But they're kind of ugly. I mean, no offense to anyone who has a Prius, but they're not exactly, nobody exactly grows up with a Prius on their wall. And so, right, but you accept the whole of it. You accept all of it. You look at it as part of the whole puzzle, the whole piece, the whole thing. And so, in order to get to the place of full authenticity, we have to get to a place of self-acceptance of the whole. And that also includes accepting the vulnerable parts of yourself. Because guess what? Like this, I tell my guys all the time, I'm sensitive. And I guess in the guys' world, as far as dating coaching, that's not a trait that, typically, at least in my world, that men aspire to be. We aspire to be providers, hardworking, motivational. I'm sensitive. Like you say something all wrong way, I'm in my feelings about it, and I'm like, well, why do you say this? And so but that's part of who I am. Now naturally, like I've grown, I've learned to see both sides of that aspect. Because listen, sensitive, if one side of it is I take everything personally. The other side of it, I have the gift of being able to feel things immensely, and so that helps me accept more of the whole. And so when I am when I am like really feeling, the times where I'm really emotional. When the day that my daughter was born, I cried for like 4 hours. Okay, I had a song, I was playing it, and I was just like, but instead of wearing shades, instead of like going in the corner, I allowed it to be seen, and I accepted that part of myself. And in that moment, I was embracing my full authenticity. And so that's how all those pieces work.
Yeah, that's good, man. The whole is super powerful. I always, and you never have. I've never had, I guess, like words to put to this, but whenever I've met somebody who like, you have some admiration for, and they say like, oh no, I blank. I'm sensitive. I am terrible at organization, so I have dot dot dot. There's always this thing that you're like, oh man, like they know where they're at, and they're like, they say it like, man, this is that's part of who I am. I have a challenge with that, and I always kind of appreciate that because you're like, there's two reasons. One is because you're like, They're being vulnerable in a certain way, and they're giving you some authentic thing. The other thing is that they're aware, they're self-aware by telling you that. And that's
Yes.
a nice thing that, when you see someone and you meet somebody who has a level of self-awareness and they've spent the time to think about who they are, who's their whole self. There's something very nice about that. I think that's hard work, and a lot of people don't like to do it.
Mm.
To put this in a health perspective, I've had multiple patients go and do some version of psychotherapy in different realms. I have Dr. Bob Johnson coming on, who is a mushroom expert and has helped a lot with psychedelic research.
Yeah.
And you listen to some of these transformations that people make, and they come out of that. And I've probably had 5 or 6 patients who went and spent some time kind of getting on this level. Who am I? What is my whole self? What are the things that I've tried to push down? And come back, and immediately I start talking to them like, you're different. What's happening?
Yeah.
And they're like, I just feel good. I like my pain. Like, I still have a little bit of an issue, but it's 80% better. I still have this thing, but it's okay. And I'm like, man, what do you do? And some of them, they're always kind of reluctant. They're reluctant to tell, like their doctor, hey, here's what's going on.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was just like, how powerful is that for you to get into your authentic whole self, to see how much that affects stress, anxiety, health, hormones, all of these things that it trickles down to. So, while we're talking about, it seems like it might be, woo woo, if you will. Man, it's powerful. It's not easy work, but God, that can be incredible.
It is. No, it is a thing that will set you free. They will set you free because the average human, they walk around and suffering because for some odd reason they're not good enough. Something is missing from their lives. If I were this, if I were that, I would be better. Life would be great. But then there's something different when you're like, I know who I am, and I love it and I'm okay with it. And once you have that, you start walking different, you start talking different, you stand up straighter, your perception of who you are and what you're capable of starts to change. Then you start doing things differently, start interacting with things differently. Like, I can't tell you how many times where, like, after doing this work with clients, that they start talking different. Like, it's so wild that where maybe some will talk really fast and just really be in their head, and then all of a sudden they have a calm, very engaging pace of speech, and it's the wildest thing ever. But once you do that work and you finally embrace yourself, you return back to, like, this is my favorite thing. And for anyone else who's trying to find their wholeness or authenticity, my favorite question, if I can give you like 6 months or a year worth of coaching, like in one sentence, it'll be simply this: it's, who were you before the world told you no? Who were you before the world told you to shut up and sit down? What was that person like? Describe them. What were their traits, their characteristics? How did they move around the world? And the beautiful part about it is that this is something you can always return to. So it's nothing you have to become. It's something you return to. And with that, now people walking around with that joy again. And also, too, and also, let's talk about it from a health perspective. The connection with mind body. The minute, like, in your head, you start feeling better, you start doing better. Physically, your body starts to change. You are sick less. You recover faster. You're able to lift more, run longer because of how you feel about yourself in your head. So there is that connection there. And I think just once a person gets to that place, like we said at the beginning, it just trickles over and everything becomes gravy.
Yeah, that's so good. I don't know that I've ever kind of put that together in terms of like vulnerability and authenticity and wholeness in that way. That's really powerful. I'm going to be spending some time on that. Let's kind of, we'll shift gears a little bit. Me and you have talked a ton about like goal achievement, challenges. We are, as we record this, we are 83 days? Is that what I saw you posted it today? 83 days into our annual 100-day challenge. At least for the last, I don't know how many years we've been doing that. And that is like, I look forward to the last 100 days of the year in a different way than most people I know because of the 100-day challenge. But we've talked a lot about like goals and achievement. Let's kind of spend some time on that because I think it does come full circle with a lot of the things that we're talking about. So let's first kind of use the 100-day challenge as a lead in to the kind of goals and achievement stuff. So tell everybody, I think I did a podcast on it, but talk about the first time you thought about the 100-day challenge or did the 100-day challenge.
Oh wait. I don't know if you can hear me. You froze up on my end. Hold up. Hold up. Hold up. I don't know if you can hear me. Hey, sorry about that.
Oh, all good.
Yep, all good. Yeah, yeah. Looks like I lost reception for some connection somehow. Sorry about that.
Oh, not a problem. That was good timing, especially since we're transitioning a little bit.
Yeah.
All right, let me mark this. So yeah, let's talk about the 100-day challenge and how that came about, but also how we can use those little like mental tricks to improve kind of goal achievement in our lives.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So the 100-day challenge started. You're right. We've been doing this for a few years now. I lost track. It started a few years back, where one day I was just looking at the calendar, and then I saw that, oh snap, there is 100 days left in the year. And then there's something magical. For me, I'm always trying to push myself, and there's something magical about 100 days. And I started thinking to myself, what would happen if I did something for 100 days straight? Like, just what can I create? Who can I become if I just did something for just 100 days straight? And so then that's when it started with the first challenge, where it started off, I believe, I was going to post every day and meditate every day for 100 days straight. And in doing it, ever since then, I would post it online just so I can keep accountable, tell people on my journey. And then before you know it, I think it was like 1 year, maybe 2 years later, I asked if anyone wants to join, and a bunch of group of people, including yourself, they were like, "Yeah, no, let's do it." And ever since then, it's been a fun thing every single year to look forward to. And every year I learn something, something gets revealed to me. Um, yeah, how's it been for you, actually?
Yeah,
I know
so
you.
this has been a really good one. We were talking about it yesterday, like what we were going to keep with the 100-day challenge going into next year. So um, I've I've worked out at 5 a.m. Out of these 83 days, probably 78 of those 83 days. And that's just out of like kind of necessity. The way when we started the 100-day challenge, I was like, look, we're gonna do a modified health version of like 75 hard, which is like 2 workouts a day. One needs to be outside. For me, I kind of adapted that to, one like a traditional workout. The second one needs to be outside or it's some form of exposure. So like getting in the cryo chamber or a cold swimming pool, as we've done these last few days, would count as my second, like workout, quote unquote. And I've never been a morning workout person. I was always like, I don't get a very good workout, blah, blah, blah. About 20 days into this, I started waking up and like craving that energy that it gave me, which was I'm not, I've always been somewhat of an early riser, but this is like, I roll out of bed, shoes are on. Today, it probably took me, I don't know, 2.5 minutes until I was out of the door. And that will stay. Like the way my day is, whenever I'm done with my workout at 6:10, I'm back home. I have coffee. We have another 45 minutes of like a nice, easy morning. If Sarah's got something going on, I've got some writing time. I've got some time to do some work. And then I'm at the office early. I've got patience. I finish that and I'm like, I am already accomplished. I've already done 5 or 6 good things in my day. I love it. And without a time constraint. Like if you had told me in October, hey Derek, I want you to start working out in the morning. I'd be like, look, I've tried it before. There's too much stuff. It's hard. I like my morning routine. I like my meditation time. I like my writing time. I can't do it. Like it's not gonna happen. If you left it open-ended like that, that's what would have been my answer because I've tried. But when we put the 100-day challenge on it, you come up with different things that help you problem solve in a way to make it achievable in the short term. Like me and Sarah had to sit down and we had both our calendars and we're like running through and we're like, when do you do what? Okay, I do it this way. How can we make it to where we don't fail for 100 straight days of getting a workout in? And we had to coordinate that. Now we could have done that anyway, but we did not. So that's why I love these things. And I've seen so many, I mean, me and you've seen people grow YouTube channels, lose weight, get in shape. I've had people in my world learn languages. You can tell them about a little bit of magic if you want. But it's just this beautiful kind of mental constraint that makes things that you would otherwise feel like we're unachievable are much more achievable when we constrain it like that.
Yes, yeah, no, 100%. The 100-day challenge, the reason why I love it, especially over the years, taught me more and more about goal achievement. And, first and foremost is that goal achievement is not what you think it is. It's not like the movies where there's this training montage where you are waking up super early and you're struggling and you're eating raw eggs like Rocky and things like that. No, that's the reality. That's not reality. The reality of goal achievement, actually, as you and I have both seen, is actually small things done over time. A lot of the things, at least for me, the success that I've seen when it comes to the 100-day challenge is come from doing something for like 15 minutes, but every single day. So the power doesn't come in the how much you do it. I worked out for 2 hours, for 3 hours. But it's really more how often you do it, the consistency factor, which is why I tell clients, listen, just go take a walk. Go take a walk to the end of your street and then come back. And just continue to do that for 100 and go say hi to people just for 100 days straight, just at least once a day. And then what happens is that you just start, the power of compound interest starts to take over. Then what happens is that before you know it, you just feel weird for not doing it. Now, like you just crave waking up early and to do all these things. For a lot of the guys now, it's funny. It's a funny joke. It's like a funny complaint that they have about my coaching because they're like, Pablo, I can't turn it off now. And I'm like, yeah, that wasn't part of the deal. I wasn't going to teach you that. I'm sorry. I don't know what to tell you. And so, but what success really looks like in any goal achievement, it's about, whatever it is that you want to do, the way to get there, honestly, the way to get there, it's small increments, small little actions done daily. It's how frequently you do them that gets you there. For example, I put in the context of my world, what I tell my guys all the time. The average person, they go out to go meet new people Friday and Saturday. and they're going out, let's say 2 hours, 2.5 hours a night, maybe to some social place. And while they're there, they are talking to maybe realistically one, maybe three people a night. So Friday, Saturday, three people a night. They've gone out for what, 2.5, like 5 hours. That's six people in total in the week. Cool. What I tell guys to do is, okay, cool. Say hi to five new people every single day. It takes less than 10 seconds to say hi, and five people over the course of 7 days. I mean, like, look how much better you got over that time. You know what I'm saying? Like, you speak to
Yeah.
35 versus six people in that short of time. And so now you're starting to build a habit now. And now, again, all this, by the way, everything we're talking goes together because now it's become part of your identity. Now, this is not something you just
Yeah.
do on Friday nights. You're not doing just because it's a challenge. Like, no, now it's just become part of who you are. So, what real success, a real goal achievement, what it looks like in real life, not like the movies, it's having something, at least a small action, and that's done repeatedly every single day.
Yeah, I mean, even for me, I've always, I've probably worked out on some level of consistency for I don't know, 25 years, let's say. But there, I still get pride when somebody's like, "You worked out today?" I'm like, "Yeah, yeah, I was at the gym at 5." Like
Yeah.
even now, like there's not a major change in what I was doing before, but that's a different type of person who works out at 5 every day. Like your health is a higher priority to you. Like for you, every day being at the gym, and like, you gotta, your dad and you got business, you got all that stuff. Hey, I'm at the gym every morning at 6 o'clock or at 7 o'clock. Like that's a different type of person than like the guy who's like, yeah, yeah, I make it in at like, some days at 4 or 5 in the afternoon. Like some days
Yeah.
I miss it because my wife's got stuff going on, but I try.
Yeah, because what does it say about you? Like again, and I love a lot of like the philosophies and things that I talk about. They all intertwine together because, like you said, what does that say about you? It's a reflection of who you are. And so the fact that you get up at 5 to work out, and I'm at the gym at 7, and because by the way too, not all training sessions are the best. Some days you're like, oh my god, and some days you're dragging. Some days you're not lifting as much, right? But guess what? I showed up. I went, and guess what? Like with my partner, there'll be plenty of times where maybe we may be up late with the baby, and if I still go to the gym, she goes, oh, you went today? I go, yeah, I did. She's like, wow. And so it shows about who you are. It talks about like it's a reflection of who you are as a person. And so, like that's why, like even these 100-day things, like when you are selecting a goal, and I don't know if we're gonna get into this, but goal selection is actually very important because are you choosing a goal out of your ego, or are you choosing a goal because it's part of who you want to become? It's part of your development and who you want to become as a person. Because going to the gym, 6 7 days a week, while that is great, but why are you doing it? Just to say that you are? Versus I want to be healthy. That's a different goal, which is why then you know what, I'm gonna take a walk 7 days a week, and that's completely different. And so, and I found definitely through experience doing this 100-day challenge, if you choose goals that are like out of the ego, then you're not gonna be happy. You're not gonna stick to it. And you're actually doing it for someone else's approval. Which, by the way, let's say you do all that and you don't get the approval, you're gonna be pretty disappointed. And
Yeah.
so, but whereas, even if you go to the gym and no one says anything about it, but you're doing it for yourself, you still feel happy. You still feel accomplished. And then again, it ties back to being reflective of who you are as a person.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a very, we used to spend some time at the beginning of the 100-day challenge, almost like challenging people of like, okay, what's your goal? Why are you making that goal? Oh, like I'd like to have a six pack. It's like, like, that's great. Let's, what does that look like? Let's break that down a little bit. Like you're talking about, is that an ego driven goal or is that an intrinsic driven goal? So let's double click on that a little bit. You work a lot with guys who are trying to improve their dating life, their social aspect. when they're creating goals, how do you make sure that we're creating a goal that's based on kind of who we want to be, or that's not based on the ego? What does that look like? What's the process? What's the thinking around creating that type of a goal?
Wow, you're so great at questions. I love that question. And so, how do we create goals that are not revolved around the ego? And it's simply, I just ask one question over and over again, which is why? Simply why. And then when you ask someone like, what do you want? You go, cool. And why is that important to you? What does that look like, and why? Why do you want that? Why do you want that? Why? And the more you ask why, the more you get down to the real reason. And that's when the truth comes out. And then they discover that what they really want is not really the goal, but the why. And so, for people maybe that want to get their fitness ready, right? At some point, maybe they're like, hey, I want a six-pack. Great, that's fine. Let's do that. Why? Because I want to look good naked. Great. Why? Because I want to impress my partner. Why? Because I want to connect better with my partner. Why? And even go deeper. Why? Because that's a great relationship experience. And then, like, okay, now I know what I'm working for. Now, it's great. Like, get the six-pack. Absolutely, go for it. At the same time, now that we have our why, now we know what we're really working for. So when you're doing those crunches, when you're doing that last set that you're like, oh my god, like this is tough, or when you are drinking that nasty kale smoothie that you don't want to drink, what you're really doing on the surface is creating better connection with my partner. I'm being like, for me, in my eyes, like one of my motivations is I always want to be able to pick up my daughter. Like for me to see her and she's like up, pick me up, and I don't want to ever be like, oh no, I can't. Like for me, like as a child, like that probably might break her heart. For me, I want to be able to launch her up into the air and have her say, my dad's Superman. And so like for me, that is part of my why, so I can stay fit and I can move around, I can laugh with her. And so to answer your questions, the simply ask yourself why. One great exercise is to, whatever it is you want, ask yourself why 5 to 7 times. Just keep going. Why? Well, why? Why do you want it? Why is that important? Why is that important? And then before you know it, you're going to get to a level you're like, wow, like I really know now what motivates me.
Yeah, that once you start going in circles with that, like if you start noticing that you're just rewording like one of the other whys, you've probably gotten to the bottom. But I do find what you're saying is right. It's like 5, 6, 7, you start to really get like, but don't just do the superficial. Like think about really the why underneath, that outcome. What are you like, schedule some time for it. But that is an insanely powerful. I do this with business people. Whenever I'm helping other doctors kind of grow their businesses, they're like, I want to grow a business. Why? Well, because, I want to help more people. Why? Well, because I feel like, well, let me think about it. Then they get stuck. Now they're like, why do I want to help more people? Like I've said that for 10 years. Have I thought about the why behind that?
Yeah.
And now we're getting to it like, okay, well, that's where I find value, is whenever I help people. That's what makes me feel valuable. Why? Like you start to really, it gets deep. I don't want people to be mistaken that this is just easy, but it's so good if you start to set goals. And it's not that it changes the goal. Like we may finish that whole exercise and you're like, okay, good. Now we can grow your practice, but we know why. And so now when it hits hard and you hit that challenging part that always comes, now we know why you're going through the tough parts. And you have the pull to get through those rather than the push to get to this superficial goal because you don't know what's underneath it.
Yes. I was just going to say that. Now you're pulled versus pushing or chasing. And now, by the way, too, like I'm sure Derek, you can attest to this. Every single 100-day challenge, there's this stretch of days where it's tough. This stretch of days where nothing's moving, nothing's happening. You're annoyed. Maybe you slip up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. There's always that stretch in every pursuit, where there's business, health, relationship, where there's that low, and they call it the valley of despair, where you start off optimistically, then you're like, okay, wait, this might be a little challenging, but I could push through. And then there's that phase called the valley of despair, where you're like, you see no light. You're like, what's the point? Nothing's changing. Was during that time where you have that why that pulls you, that reminds you why this is worth going through. This crappy moment, this low is worth going through. And I love that you said that. I was like, as you were speaking, I was thinking that.
Yeah, I love Hormozy talks about it all the time. You mentioned him earlier. He said, like, you know, when you get to that valley of despair, successful people will keep doing the boring stuff. They keep showing up, as you said earlier.
Mhm.
And that's what separates them. It's not that they do it amazing. It's not that they spend more time. It's not that they do anything else, but they get to that valley of despair and they keep showing up. And the people who are not successful, they get to that valley of despair and it's boring and it's the same stuff you've been doing for the last X amount of time. And you're like, let me change. Let me shift. This is starting to hurt. This is starting to be tough. It's starting to be boring.
Yeah.
And then they shift gears and they stop showing up.
Yep. Yep. And this is where it gets to the point. Something that I was talking about with my group. I think it was actually this week, which is the idea of principles versus results. Which is when you're doing things, people do things for results. But here's the problem with that dynamic. If I don't get the result, then I stop. Then I'm not doing it anymore. Now imagine if you live your entire life that way in all aspects of your life. I'm eating right, so I'm getting a six pack. Well, I'm getting a six pack, so I'm gonna stop eating right. Well, guess what's gonna happen? Your body's gonna break down. Or let's say in business, I am going to prospect every day so I can get clients. Cool, but let's say you don't get clients. You're gonna stop prospecting. What's gonna happen to your business? You're not gonna have one. And the same thing in dating. And so like that, when you're working for that, then like you're in this structure, in this dynamic where if this, then I'll work. If this happens, then I'll do it. You're never gonna achieve anything in your life in that. And what that value of despair teaches you is to work from work for principles. The principles is because who I am, because this is what I do. And like I'll give you an example where one of like for me, one of the things was that I've started doing is completely different, but like just brushing my beard. I've wanted to take care of myself, and even though I'm in a relationship and I'm not going anywhere fantastic, when I go to the gym, I'm brushing my beard. Why? Because it's the principle. I'm not doing it for a result. It's because it's based off who I am, and so that's why I'm doing it. And so in that valley of despair, this is when, like you say, the monsters, the beasts, the superstars come out, and the reason why they come out on top is because they're doing this not to get results, because it's who I am. If you ever watch the Last Dance documentary with Jordan, and you just really listen to how he talks, it's a lot of things because it's who he is.
Yeah.
Like whether or not it's because who he is. And let me just give you this great story, this great how I figured this out. So the gym that I go to, they have a class like almost every hour. And I go to the first class of the day. One morning, I overslept, and I would have had to go to the next class. I didn't want to go to the next class, and I was like, "Well, why? Why I don't want to go?" And I told myself, because the A team, the people who really work out, the great people, work out at 7 a.m. And if I work out at the later class, then that means that I'm not great. So you see how, and so you saw how that started, the road that started to go down. But then I had that conversation. I was like, well, if Kobe Bryant came and worked out in this class, would he still be Kobe Bryant? Yes. Why? Because he would still bring the same intensity. Because it's still who he is. And so it doesn't matter so then so it brings full circle. It doesn't matter the results. It matters who you are and what you consistently bring to the moment. And if that's consistent, then not only do you become who you want to become, but the results become a byproduct of it. The results just happen on their own. You see what I mean?
Yep. Yeah. That's powerful, man. Pablo, this has been awesome. I knew like the implications of this are so deep. So I was excited to have this. I was like, we're gonna hit some heavy stuff, even if on the surface. I'm sure this is why you love kind of working with people in this, because it's like they start thinking I'm gonna improve my social life, I'm improve dating, and then they end up saying, oh man, I am a more authentic, better person. I've got better goals. I feel so much better. I'm healthier in all these aspects. And I knew that's where this was going to go. So I sincerely appreciate you for coming on and everything that you put out in the world that's positive and helping people improve their lives. really, really changing a lot of lives. And as we've talked about, changing a lot of health as well. Where can people find more about you, about the Red Velvet experience, which we mentioned a couple times? You can kind of tell people what that is.
Yes, yes. So the Red Velvet Group is a men's group that I run, and the whole purpose behind that is to help men become more confident, have better relationship, and be the most interesting men in their room by being the most authentic one in the room. And that is, my little baby, my pride and joy there. And so, if anyone want to know more about that, it's at the redvelvetgroup.com, or simply, I talk about it all over my socials. So there's something there. You can find me on Instagram at Pablo.j.rosario. So there's that as well. And yeah, that's my baby.
I'm pushing all my friends to have the same trauma that I've had writing a book. When's the book coming out?
Oh,
When we getting you on that?
yes. So that is hard. That's hard. Writing a book is hard. Oh my gosh, man. There's so much. Like I'm still in the organization phase of getting the ideas down and structuring the book, man. So, but I'm looking for 2025.
There you
That's
go. I like it.
2025. So I have the in the book right now. I mean, and you're the first person I'm telling. My partner knows, but you're the first person that knows. But it is going to be called um, uh, "Master the Art of Being You."
I like that.
Yeah. So it's going to
I
revolve
will.
around a lot of
I'll
things that we
double
talked
click that.
about. Yeah. Yeah. The art of
Oh,
being you.
love that. Yeah, that's incredible. Pablo, we ask all our guests if somebody's listening to this and they can do one thing to get a little bit better, a little bit healthier today, what would that be?
Give to every single person you meet. Give them the best 5 minutes they ever had. It will not only make them better, but it will make your self-esteem better, your mental health better, and that will spill over to other areas of your life. Simply said, everything I teach, the secret to being great with people, boils down to one word, which is give. How can I give to this person in this moment?
Man, that's powerful. Well, Pablo, thank you for giving all the time, man. Much appreciated, buddy.
My pleasure. Thank you so much for having me on.